It started with a scream. Cameras were rolling, lights were blazing, and the tension on set was thick enough to cut through when Mona Scott suddenly slammed her headset on the producer's desk and stormed straight toward Rasheeda Frost. The crew froze. No one moved, not even Kirk, who was standing a few feet away beside Jasmine Washington, both caught in the storm about to unfold. What was supposed to be a smooth filming day for love and hip-hop, Atlanta turned into something no one could have predicted. By the time security stepped in, the damage had already been done. And the footage was something even VH1 might think twice before airing. Rumors are now flying faster than anyone can keep up with. Fans are saying this was the fight that ended the long-standing alliance between Mona Scott and Rasheeda Frost, the one that had held the show together for years. Others whisper that Kirk and Jasmine's presence wasn't a coincidence, they were part of the reason it all exploded. Witnesses say Mona's voice shook the entire set, and Rasheeda didn't back down for even a second. Every camera, every microphone, every assistant knew this wasn't a scripted moment. This was raw, real, and deeply personal. Sources claim it began with a private disagreement over how Rasheeda's storyline was being handled this season. Mona wanted to push a certain angle, something involving Kirk's old drama with Jasmine, but Rasheeda had had enough. She felt humiliated, used, and cornered. What no one expected was how public her anger would become. Right in the middle of production, she confronted Mona head-on, accusing her of turning people's lives into circus acts. Mona, never one to back down, clapped back with a line so sharp it left the room silent. And that's when things turned ugly. Kirk tried to calm Rasheeda down, but Jasmine's smirk from across the room made everything worse. Rasheeda caught it, her eyes narrowed, her voice broke, and suddenly, all the pain she had been holding in for years came pouring out. "You think this is funny?" she shouted. Jasmine's response only fanned the flames, and before anyone could blink, Mona was right there. Finger pointed. Her own patience snapped. Two strong women, both used to being in control, were now face to face in a showdown that would rewrite the dynamics of the entire franchise. Producers tried to intervene, but Mona waved them off. She wanted Rasheeda to say what she really felt, right there, on camera. The atmosphere was electric, the energy chaotic. Crew members later said it felt less like a reality show and more like a battle of pride, power, and years of unresolved resentment. By the end of that day, one thing was certain: nothing about love and hip-hop would ever be the same again. Fans are still trying to piece together what really happened behind those studio doors, but one question hangs in the air. What exactly did Mona say that made Rasheeda lose control? On set, the air was tense long before anyone realized it. Mona Scott had been pacing by the monitors, her eyes fixed on the playback from earlier scenes, lips pressed tight as if holding back a storm. Rasheeda Frost was seated across the room, pretending to scroll through her phone, but everyone could see the stiffness in her posture. Kirk was nearby, his face unreadable, and Jasmine Washington, quietly observing from behind the makeup chair, looked like she knew something that nobody else did. The energy felt strange, charged, like something ugly was brewing beneath the surface. And then, with one sharp remark from a production assistant about redoing the confrontation scene, it all began to unravel. Mona turned, her voice low but cutting. "Redo," I said. "We're moving forward, not back." Rasheeda didn't look up, but the twitch in her jaw said she heard it. The crew froze. It was the same tone Mona used when she was done being nice. Rasheeda finally spoke, calm but steady. "You're not about to play me again, Mona. I'm not doing another take just so you can twist it in editing." Mona crossed her arms. "Twist it? Girl, I made you. If it weren't for me, nobody would still be talking about Frost anything." Gasps rippled through the room. Kirk stepped forward, his voice uncertain. "Mona, come on, we don't need all that." But Mona's glare cut him off. Rasheeda stood now, eyes locked on Mona's. "You think you can control everybody, but you forget one thing. I'm not one of these girls who will let you embarrass her for views." Mona smiled, cold and mocking. "Embarrass? You've been living off the same storyline for 10 years. The cheating husband, the crying wife, the forgiving woman. You think people still buy that?" Jasmine smirked, her reflection glimmering in the mirror behind them. And that single gesture ignited something inside Rasheeda. She spun toward, her voice rising. "Wipe that smirk off your face before I do it for you." Jasmine lifted her hands in mock defense, laughing softly. "Oh, so now I'm the problem again. Maybe if you handled your man, we wouldn't be here." The set erupted. Kirk tried to get between them, but Rasheeda shoved his hand away. "No, don't protect her, not this time. She's been hanging around like a shadow since day one." Jasmine stepped closer. "Because you keep pretending you're over it when you're not. Stop blaming Moana. Stop blaming me. Blame the man you keep taking back." That hit too close. Rasheeda's voice cracked. You don't know what it's like to fight for your marriage. Jasmine shot back. Fight, girl, you're performing for the cameras. That's all you've been doing. Mona watched, silent now, as her show unraveled in front of her. Maybe part of her wanted this. Raw emotion was good television, but this wasn't acting anymore. Rasheeda's tears weren't scripted, and Kirk's panic was real. When Mona finally stepped forward, her voice came like a strike. You both need to decide if you're here to make history or to keep repeating it. But Rasheeda turned on her, shaking with rage. You don't get to talk about history when you built it off our pain. The words hung heavy in the air. Even the cameramen hesitated to keep filming. Mona's expression hardened. That's exactly what the audience wants, the truth. And you're scared to show it. Rasheeda's laugh was bitter. Truth or manipulation? You push people till they break, then act like it's part of the story. Mona stepped closer. It is the story. It's your story. The argument moved like fire, unpredictable and burning everything it touched. Kirk pulled at Rasheeda's arm, whispering, "Let's just go." But she refused to move. Jasmine leaned against the counter, almost entertained. "Oh, come on, you're giving them gold right now." Mona snapped, "Stay out of this, Jasmine." But Jasmine shrugged. "Too late. I'm already in it." Crew members exchanged uneasy glances. One of the lighting techs whispered, "This ain't right," while another said under his breath, "Keep rolling. She's gonna want this later." Mona heard it. She turned sharply. "You heard him. Keep rolling." Rasheeda looked disgusted. "So that's it. We're nothing but ratings to you." Mona tilted her head. "You wanted the platform, baby. You wanted the fame. This is the cost." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Kirk's eyes darted between them, helpless. Jasmine crossed her legs, her tone soft but cruel. "She's right. You know, you begged to come back this season." Rasheeda's gaze turned deadly. "Say that again." Jasmine smiled. "Begged." In one swift motion, Rasheeda moved toward her, and Kirk grabbed her waist, pulling her back before things turned physical. "Don't do this, Ray," he whispered. She struggled against him, tears streaming. "She doesn't get to talk about me like that." Mona stepped between them, her voice sharp as glass. Everybody calmed down, but nobody was listening. The crew tried to step in, someone dropped a mic, and the sound echoed through the chaos. Mona's patience finally snapped. "Enough," she yelled, her voice echoing through the set. The entire room froze. For a second, all that could be heard was heavy breathing. Rasheeda wiped her face, trembling. Jasmine's smile faded. Kirk looked at Mona, desperate for her to say something that would end it all. Instead, Mona said quietly, "You just proved my point." Rasheeda's voice cracked. "And what's that supposed to mean?" Mona stared her down. "That no matter how much you pretend, you're still broken. And until you face that, you'll keep ending up here." The words hit like a slap. Kirk closed his eyes, and Jasmine looked away. Rasheeda's silence stretched, broken only by the sound of her shallow breaths. She finally whispered, "You don't know what I've been through." Mona softened slightly. "Then tell me. Tell the audience. That's what they need to see." The woman behind the act. For a brief moment, it looked like Rasheeda might, but then she caught Jasmine's reflection against murking faintly and the fragile calm shattered. "You really enjoy this, don't you?" Rasheeda spat. Jasmine blinked innocently. "Me? I'm just here." "No, you're not just here," Rasheeda shot back. "You're here because she pointed at Mona, wants to keep using you as a prop to destroy my marriage." Mona frowned. "Nobody's using anybody." Rasheeda laughed bitterly. "Oh, please. You've been feeding her lines since day one." "Oh, please. You've been feeding her lines since day one." Mona's jaw tightened. "I don't need to feed her lines. She makes good TV all on her own." Jasmine smiled again. "Thank you, Mona. At least someone appreciates me." Rasheeda lunged forward, but Kirk's arms held her tight. "Stop it," he pleaded. "This isn't worth it." Rasheeda turned on him, eyes blazing. "Worth it? Do you even hear yourself? How many times have I stood by you while you humiliated me?" Kirk looked down, guilt written all over his face. "I thought we moved past it," he murmured. "You did," she said. "I didn't." Mona took a deep breath, rubbing her temples. "Okay, we're cutting for the day." But one of the assistant producers whispered, "We can't use any of this without consent." Mona turned coldly. "We'll get it, trust me." Rasheeda grabbed her bag, her voice shaking but strong. "You won't use me anymore. Mona, I'm done." Mona didn't stop her this time. "You've said that before." Rasheeda paused, staring back. "Yeah, but this time, I mean it." And with that, she walked out. The door slammed hard enough to make the cameras shake. Jasmine exhaled, almost relieved. "Well," she said quietly, "that was something." Mona didn't answer. She just stared at the door, her mind already spinning with what came next. Kirk followed Rasheeda out, leaving Jasmine alone with the woman who had orchestrated everything. The set was silent now, except for the low hum of the lights. Mona finally turned to Jasmine. "You know she's not really done." Jasmine tilted her head. "You sure?" Mona smiled faintly. "With people like Rasheeda, it's never over. It's just the beginning." Outside the studio, Rasheeda stood in the parking lot, trembling from the adrenaline. Kirk caught up with her, reaching for her hand. "Baby, please, don't walk away like this." She pulled away. "Don't baby me, Kirk. You stood there and let her talk to me like that. You let Jasmine sit there and laugh." Kirk sighed. "I didn't want to make it worse." Rasheeda shook her head. "It's already worse." As they stood under the harsh studio lights, a crew member peeked out from the doorway, watching quietly. Somewhere inside, Mona was already planning how to spin the chaos into ratings gold. Jasmine, sitting back in her chair, checked her phone, scrolling through messages from fans who had somehow already heard whispers of what happened. Within minutes, the story would leak. By morning, it would be everywhere, and none of them would ever see each other the same way again. The night after the blow-up, Atlanta's air felt heavier than usual. The city lights glowed across the skyline. But for Mona Scott, the brightness did nothing to ease the storm inside her. She sat alone in her hotel suite, scrolling through her phone as messages from producers, bloggers, and cast members flooded in. Someone from the crew had already leaked what happened on set. Hashtags were spreading fast. Gossip blogs were calling it the biggest meltdown in love and hip-hop history, and every fan page had theories. Mona set her phone down, rubbing her temples. She had built her career on chaos. But this one felt different. This one had cracked something deeper. Meanwhile, Rasheeda Frost was still awake, sitting on the edge of her bed, her phone lighting up every few seconds. Kirk paced across the room, trying to find words that didn't make things worse. "We can fix this," he said quietly. But Rasheeda didn't respond. She stared at the wall, eyes blank, the fight replaying over and over in her head. Mona's words echoed broken. "Act, truth, fix it," Rasheeda finally said, her voice low. "How do you fix something that's been broken for years?" Kirk stopped pacing. "I thought we were past all that." "You thought wrong," she said. At the same time, Jasmine Washington was on Instagram Live. She sat in her apartment, full face of makeup, hair perfect, acting calm while thousands of viewers joined her stream. "Yeah, I was there," she said casually. "It got heated. People said things. But I'm not the villain here. Y'all need to stop twisting it." Comments poured in, calling her messy, fake, or brave, depending on the follower. Jasmine smiled faintly at one that read, "Rasheeda got what she deserved." "Look," she said. "I respect Rasheeda, but she's been holding grudges for years. I moved on." "She didn't." Then she added, almost under her breath, "And she got what she wanted to." By morning, clips from Jasmine's live were everywhere. Gossip pages posted screenshots, and fans dissected every word. Rasheeda's breaking point trended on Twitter, while others accused Mona of exploiting her cast for ratings. Some fans took sides. Others just waited for the next twist. Mona saw the frenzy and knew exactly what to do. She called her assistant, "Get me Kirk and Jasmine today." Hours later, Kirk sat across from her in a quiet corner of a downtown cafe. He looked tired, worn out, like he hadn't slept. Mona sipped her coffee, studying him. "You know how this works," she said softly. "One incident like this can make or break a season." Kirk nodded slowly. "I know, but she's done, Mona. I don't think she's coming back." Mona leaned in. "She always says that. Give it 2 days. She'll call." Kirk hesitated. "Not this time." Mona smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised what happens when the cameras stop rolling. People remember where the checks come from." Kirk looked down, guilt flashing across his face. "She doesn't care about that right now." Mona's tone turned colder. "She should, because the network's already calling. They want to know if we're canceling or capitalizing." He frowned. "Capitalizing? You know exactly what I mean," Mona said. "People are watching. The fight's viral. The public wants a follow-up." Kirk sighed. "So you want to air it?" "I want to finish what we started," Mona replied. Across town, Rasheeda was meeting her best friend, Carly Red, in a small boutique. Carly hugged her tight, whispering, "Girl, I saw everything. The whole internet's talking." Rasheeda's eyes watered. "Let them talk. I'm tired." "Carly, I really am." Carly frowned. "You're not really leaving, right? You've been holding this show together." Rasheeda shook her head. "I don't care anymore. I gave Mona everything, my pain, my marriage, my pride, and she turned it into entertainment." Carly hesitated. But people love you. They see you as the strong one. Rasheeda laughed bitterly. Strong doesn't mean happy. As they spoke, a camera crew parked outside. Mona had sent them, knowing Rasheeda's emotional state was the heart of the story. When Carly noticed them through the window, she whispered, "They're filming us." Rasheeda turned, fury flashing in her eyes. She stormed out the door, straight toward the camera. "Get that thing out of my face." The cameraman stammered. Mona said, "I don't care what Mona said." Rasheeda snapped, "If she wants drama, tell her to come find me herself." And Mona did. 2 hours later, she arrived at Rasheeda's boutique, stepping out of a black SUV with her usual calm authority. Fans nearby whispered, snapping photos as the two women faced off again. "You sent cameras to my store?" Rasheeda said coldly. Mona folded her arms. "It's part of your contract. So is respect." Rasheeda shot back. "And you forgot about that a long time ago." Mona didn't blink. "You're emotional. I get it. But this is business." "No, this is personal," Rasheeda said, voice trembling. "You took my marriage, my struggles, and made them a joke." Mona sighed. "You signed up for reality TV, not fantasy. People don't tune in for perfection." Rasheeda shook her head. "No. They tune in because you feed off people's pain. You call it reality, but it's manipulation." Mona's tone sharpened. "You think I forced you to cry on camera? I gave you a platform. What you did with it was up to you." Rasheeda's eyes filled again. "I trusted you." For the first time, Mona's expression softened. "And I trusted you to be real. That's why it worked." The words hung between them like something fragile. Neither spoke for a long moment. Then Rasheeda said quietly, "Well, it's over now." Mona tilted her head. "You sure? Because if you walk away, the show moves on without you. And once it does, you don't get back in." Carly stepped out from behind the counter, her voice shaky. "Mona, she's done. Can't you see that?" Mona glanced at her, "People say that all the time, Carly. Then they remember the spotlight." Rasheeda turned away, grabbing her purse. "That spotlight ruined my life," Mona murmured, "and built it too." Before either could say more, Kirk walked in. "What's going on?" he asked, eyes darting between them. Rasheeda glared. "What do you think?" Mona smiled slightly. "I was just offering her one last chance to tell her truth." Kirk sighed. "She doesn't owe you." "I was just offering her one last chance to tell her truth." Kirk sighed. "She doesn't owe you that. She owes herself that." Mona corrected. "The audience still believes in her. They need closure." Rasheeda spun around. "They don't need my pain to feel whole, Mona. They just need a new headline." Outside, fans had gathered, filming everything on their phones. Someone shouted, "Rasheeda, is it true you quit?" Another yelled, "Mona, you're cold." Mona ignored them, stepping closer to Rasheeda. "Look, I know you're angry, but you'll regret walking away like this. I'm giving you a chance to own your story before someone else tells it." Rasheeda looked her dead in the eyes. "Someone else already did." The words hit harder than anything from the night before. Mona stood there, speechless for once. Kirk put his arm around Rasheeda, guiding her out of the store. Paparazzi flashes followed them to the car. Mona stayed behind, watching quietly as they drove away. Inside the boutique, the crew began packing up equipment. Carly walked over to Mona, her tone cautious. "You really think she's coming back?" Mona smiled faintly, eyes distant. "She always comes back." But deep down, she wasn't sure this time. Something about the way Rasheeda had said it's so final, so heavy made even Mona doubt her own instincts. As evening fell, Jasmine posted again. This time, it was a picture of herself on set with the caption, "Truth always comes out eventually." The comments exploded. Fans accused her of stirring the pot. Others defended her. Mona saw the post and sighed. "She's already playing her part," she muttered. She opened her laptop, scrolling through unfinished footage from the fight, her mind racing with possibilities. There was still a story to tell, and she was going to tell it with or without Rasheeda's blessing. Across town, Rasheeda sat on her balcony, staring at the city lights, the sound of traffic faint below. Kirk stood behind her, uncertain. "Do you want to talk?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not right now." "About the show?" He tried again. "About anything," she whispered. "I'm tired of talking. I just want peace." Kirk exhaled, sitting beside her. "Maybe walking away is the right move. Or maybe it's too late," she said softly. "Mona already turned my pain into a brand. No matter what I do now, people won't see me, they'll see the storyline." Kirk put a hand over hers. "Then we'll change the story." Rasheeda closed her eyes, letting the city hum fill the silence between them. Unaware that Mona had just decided the next episode's title would be The Frost Fallout, Part 1. The following morning, the production office was chaos. Phones rang non-stop. assistants shouted across rooms. And every major gossip outlet was running the same headline. Mona Scott and Rasheeda Frost explosion caught on camera. The footage hadn't leaked officially, but enough whispers from the crew had reached bloggers who were now spinning their own versions. Mona walked in wearing sunglasses and a calm expression that fooled nobody. Inside, her team waited like nervous students before an exam. "Talk to me," she said flatly. A producer spoke first. "The network's nervous, but engagement's up 70% overnight. Fans want to know what happens next." Mona nodded slowly. "Good. That means we don't bury it." Another producer hesitated. "But Rasheeda's threatening to quit. If she doesn't sign off, Lego says." Mona cut him off. "She come around. She always does." Her voice was steady, but her fingers tapped the table. She knew this time might be different. Across town, Rasheeda and Kirk sat in silence over breakfast. The TV was muted, but headlines scrolled across the bottom of the screen, her name flashing in bold every few seconds. Kirk turned it off. "You don't have to watch that. I can't escape it," she said quietly. "Every time I open my phone, it's me screaming or crying or fighting." Kirk sighed. "We could take a trip, disappear for a while." Rasheeda looked at him, eyes tired. "And come back to what? More cameras, more drama?" "No, Kirk, I'm done." He nodded, though she could tell he didn't believe it. She stood up, pacing. "I let her in, Kirk. I let Mona in my life, in our marriage. I thought she cared about us, but she just wanted another headline." Kirk rubbed the back of his neck. "You know how she is. She's about business." "No," Rasheeda snapped. "She's about control." Meanwhile, Jasmine was basking in the attention. She sat at a nail salon, phone in hand, scrolling through her mentions. Her followers had doubled overnight. "Girl, they calling you the new queen of the show." The nail tech laughed. Jasmine smirked. "Let them. Maybe it's time somebody younger ran things." She hit record on a new video, her voice smooth and practiced. "People keep asking if I feel bad about what happened," she began. "Truth is, I didn't make anybody fight. I just told the truth. If folks can't handle that, that's on them." She ended it with a wink and posted it immediately. Within minutes, it was trending. By the time Mona saw the clip, she was already meeting with the network's executive. "We can use this," she told him confidently. "We make the story about redemption, forgiveness, rebuilding. People eat that up." The executive frowned. "Mona, this is messy even for us." Rasheeda's threatening legal action. Mona leaned forward. "Then she's bluffing. If she really wanted out, she'd stop talking. But she hasn't, has she? Every word she says keeps the story alive." Outside the meeting, her phone buzzed again this time. It was Kirk. She smiled faintly before answering. "So, you finally called." Kirk's tone was wary. "She didn't want me to, but I thought maybe you could talk." "Talk?" Mona repeated. "Kirk, I don't need to talk. I need her to show up." "She won't," he said quietly. "She's serious this time." Mona's smile faded. "We'll see." Later that day, she showed up unannounced at Rasheeda's boutique again. The store was closed, but lights were on inside. Mona knocked once, twice, then opened the door. Rasheeda looked up from the counter, startled. "How did you even get in here?" Mona stepped inside. "I still know people." Rasheeda folded her arms. "I told you. I'm not coming back." Mona didn't flinch. "You say that every time, but you always do." "Not this time," Rasheeda said firmly. "You crossed a line." Mona walked closer, voice calm. "You think I wanted that fight? I didn't. But the truth came out, and now people care more than ever. That's power. Rasheeda, don't waste it." Rasheeda shook her head. "I lost my dignity on that set." "You didn't lose it," Mona said. "You showed it. The world saw a real woman fighting for her respect. That's not weakness. That's what makes people root for you." Rasheeda laughed bitterly. "Root for me? They laugh at me, Mona. They call me stupid for staying, crazy for forgiving, fake for crying. You think that's support?" Mona's tone softened. "It's visibility. And visibility means control. You can shape what happens next, but only if you step back into it." Rasheeda turned away. "No, I'm done letting you shape my life." The silence stretched. Mona sighed, finally admitting what she rarely said aloud. "You know, you remind me of me when I started. Strong, smart, emotional. The only difference is, I learned how to use it. You're still letting it use you." Rasheeda's eyes flickered. "You think that's wisdom?" "It's survival," Mona said. Outside, Kirk waited in the car, watching the two women through the glass. He could see the tension but couldn't hear the words. When Rasheeda finally stepped outside, her expression was blank. "We're done here," she said simply, getting into the car. Mona stayed at the doorway, watching them drive away once again. By the next morning, Mona had already called Jasmine to schedule a private meeting. When Jasmine arrived at the production office, she wore a tight black dress and an air of confidence. "So," she said, sitting across from Mona, "what's next?" Mona studied her carefully. "What's next is how we move this forward. You and Rasheeda are the story right now. People want a confrontation, a resolution, something that feels big." Jasmine smirked. "And what if she doesn't show?" Mona's lips curved slightly. "Then you carry the season." Jasmine smiled wider. "Finally, some recognition." Mona's gaze hardened. "Don't get it twisted. You're useful now. But if you push too far, they'll turn on you. You're playing with fire." Jasmine tilted her head. "So are you?" Mona chuckled softly. "Always have been." Meanwhile, Kirk scrolled through his phone at home, reading the hundreds of comments tagging him in memes, jokes and arguments. "People don't care about truth anymore," he muttered. Rasheeda, sitting beside him, replied quietly, "They never did. They care about entertainment." Kirk looked at her, unsure what to say. That evening, Mona made one more move. She uploaded a cryptic teaser on the official Love and Hip Hop page, a blurred video of two women yelling. The words "coming soon." The aftermath flashing across the screen. It went viral within an hour. The comments were a mix of excitement and outrage. Some fans begged Rasheeda to return. Others said Mona had gone too far. Rasheeda saw the clip late that night. Her hands trembled as she watched it loop over and over. "She's really gonna air it," she whispered. Kirk rubbed his face. "We should call a lawyer." But Rasheeda just stared at the screen, voice cold now. "No. We're going to end this our way." 2 days later, Rasheeda posted her own video, a direct message to her fans. No makeup, no glam, just her sitting in her living room. "Y'all have seen me go through a lot," she began softly. "But this time, I need to tell my truth without producers, without editing, without manipulation. What you saw wasn't a storyline. It was me finally breaking." Her voice wavered. "And I'm not ashamed of that." The internet exploded again. Fans flooded her comments with support. Hashtags like #StandWith Rasheeda trended. Mona watched the clip silently, jaw tight. Jasmine texted her. So now she's the victim. Mona didn't reply. She was already thinking 3 moves ahead. The war between them had just gone public. Rasheeda had her voice. Mona had her show. And the world was watching both, waiting for whichever woman would strike next. The air inside the studio had turned so thick with tension that even the crew stopped breathing for a moment. Rasheeda's chest was heaving, her voice trembling not from fear but from years of pent-up resentment finally breaking loose. Mona stood her ground, arms crossed, eyes unblinking, daring Rasheeda to keep going. "You used me," Rasheeda hissed, her tone sharp like shattered glass. "You used my family, my pain, my marriage, just to get your ratings. And you think I'm supposed to smile for the camera while you tear my life apart?" Mona didn't flinch. She stepped closer, close enough for the sound of her heels to echo off the studio floor. "You signed up for this," she shot back. "Don't act like you didn't know what you were getting into. You built your brand on drama." Kirk moved between them, palms raised, trying to cool the fire, but both women ignored him. Jasmine stood a few feet away, biting her lip to hide a smile. That small smirk was all it took to ignite Rasheeda again. "You," Rasheeda snapped, pointing at Jasmine with a trembling hand. "You don't get to laugh at this. You destroyed my home once. Don't you dare make a joke out of my pain now." Jasmine's face hardened. "Destroyed your home," she said, tilting her head. "Maybe your husband did that all on his own." The words hit like a slap. Kirk's eyes widened, and the room fell into a stunned silence. Mona's crew was frozen, cameras still rolling. Rasheeda's voice cracked as she took a shaky step forward, her hand brushing tears from her face. "You think you know pain, Jasmine. You don't. You've never had to rebuild yourself after being humiliated in front of the world. You've never had to smile through betrayal for the sake of your kids." Jasmine scoffed, folding her arms. "Please, you're not the only one who's been hurt. You made your husband's cheating your storyline. You turned it into money." The word hung in the air like poison. Kirk rubbed the back of his neck, his expression caught between guilt and exhaustion. "This ain't the place," he muttered, but nobody heard him. Mona stepped in again, her voice louder this time. "You want the truth? Rasheeda, I gave you a platform when nobody else cared. People tuned in because of you. They loved you because of your strength. Don't twist it like I'm the villain here." Rasheeda shook her head. "Strength? You call it strength when you keep showing my lowest moments on TV. When you edit me crying and play slow music so people can laugh at my pain." She turned away, her voice breaking. "You never cared about my family. You cared about your show." Mona took a breath, her tone calmer but colder. "I care about stories that matter," she said quietly. And your story matters. You just forgot who made it matter. That line cut deep. Rasheeda looked back at her, eyes full of disbelief. You really believe that, don't you? That you made me? Mona didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence said it all. Kirk tried to speak again, but Jasmine interrupted, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Maybe she's right, Rasheeda. Maybe without Mona, no one would even know who you are. The entire crew gasped. Rasheeda turned sharply toward her, and in that instant, her composure cracked completely. Say that again, she warned. Jasmine smiled faintly. I said, but before she could finish, Rasheeda's voice thundered over her. Say it again. The sound of Rasheeda's voice echoed through the set, her anger raw, unfiltered. Kirk rushed forward, holding her shoulders, whispering, Babe, stop. It's not worth it. But Rasheeda pushed his hands away. Don't tell me it's not worth it. She sat there mocking me. You let this happen. You both did. Jasmine rolled her eyes, muttering something under her breath, and Mona finally snapped. Enough, she shouted, her voice slicing through the noise. This isn't a therapy session. If you have something to say it on camera, where it counts. Otherwise, stop wasting everyone's time. The words felt like gasoline thrown on open flames. Rasheeda's face hardened, her tears vanishing behind rage. You think I care about your cameras right now, she said. This isn't a show. This is my life. And I'm done letting you control it. Mona looked at her for a long second, then smiled faintly. That producer's smile that had manipulated countless scenes before. Oh, Rasheeda, she said softly. Everything is a show. You just forgot you're still in one. That line was the breaking point. Rasheeda lunged forward, not to hit her, but to close the distance that had become a battlefield between them. Kirk and 2 crew members held her back, but her voice carried over them all. You'll regret this, Mona, one day, when people see who you really are. Mona stepped closer, unbothered, whispering just loud enough for everyone to hear. They already do, and they love me for it. The studio erupted in chaos, assistants whispering, producers panicking, and security finally moving in. Jasmine took a step back, folding her arms as if she were watching the best episode of her life unfold right in front of her. Kirk looked exhausted, defeated, his eyes darting between his wife and the woman who had once given them both fame. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of this meltdown that would soon become the most talked about moment in reality TV. The tension didn't fade even after Mona stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Rasheeda stood there, shaking, tears streaming down her cheeks, as Kirk tried once more to comfort her. I can't keep doing this, she whispered. Every time we think we've moved on, she drags us back. Kirk didn't answer. His silence was the only truth left in that room. Jasmine's voice broke through again, softer now. She's gone. Rasheeda, maybe that's what you wanted. Rasheeda turned to her, eyes hollow but still burning with defiance. No, Jasmine, she said. I want peace. Something you'll never understand. Jasmine didn't respond. She just turned away, suddenly quieter than before. Somewhere behind them, a producer whispered into a headset, "Keep the cameras rolling." And that was the moment everyone realized this wasn't over. This was just the beginning of something much darker waiting to unfold. The next morning, the set was silent, but not the calm kind of silence. It was the uneasy kind that followed a storm. Word of the fight had spread across the production team overnight. Some claimed they saw Mona crying in her office after leaving. Others swore Rasheeda called her lawyer. No one knew what was true, but everyone was afraid to talk too loud. Even the assistants who usually laughed between takes were whispering now, glancing at each other like they were standing in the middle of something dangerous. Kirk arrived first, that morning, looking tired and older than usual. He barely spoke to anyone, just went straight to the green room, his phone buzzing nonstop. Jasmine came in not long after, sunglasses covering her face, though the studio lights weren't even on yet. People stared, whispering, "That's her. The one who smiled during the fight." Mona showed up 2 hours late, surrounded by her staff. She looked calm, too calm, like someone who'd already planned her next move. She walked past everyone without saying a word, her heels echoing through the hallway until she stopped outside Rasheeda's dressing room. The door was closed, but Mona knocked anyway, sharp and deliberate. "We need to talk," she said. There was no answer at first, just the sound of muffled voices from inside. Then the door opened slightly, and Rasheeda appeared, still in her robe, her hair loosely tied, her eyes swollen from crying. For a moment neither spoke. Mona took a breath, softening her tone. "Can we talk like grown women?" Rasheeda hesitated, then stepped aside. 5 minutes, she said flatly. Inside, the air was heavy with tension. Kirk was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone but clearly listening. Mona didn't sit. She stood by the vanity, looking at Rasheeda's reflection in the mirror. "You embarrassed me yesterday," she said quietly, "in front of my crew, my network. That wasn't professional." Rasheeda turned to face her. "You humiliated me for years," she replied. "That wasn't professional either." Mona sighed, rubbing her temple. "Rasheeda, this show is built on reality. People relate to what's real. Your story, your struggles, they inspire people." Rasheeda laughed bitterly. "Inspire? You mean entertain? You don't care about my story. You care about views." Kirk tried to intervene, but Rasheeda raised her hand. "Don't let her say it." Mona's tone hardened. "I've made stars out of people who had nothing but a name. I gave you a platform when no one else would. You can hate me all you want, but you can't erase the fact that love and hip-hop made you who you are." Rasheeda's jaw clenched. "No," she said firmly. "My hard work made me who I am. You just put a camera in front of my pain and called it good TV." The two women stood there, neither willing to back down. Kirk's phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen, frowning. "People already know," he said under his breath. Both women turned to him. "What do you mean?" Rasheeda asked. He turned the screen toward them. Blogs had already picked up the story. Mona Scott and Rasheeda fight on set. Crew, shocked by explosive confrontation. The post had thousands of shares, and the comments were brutal. Mona's face paled. "Who leaked this?" she demanded. Kirk shrugged. "Does it matter? It's out." Rasheeda shook her head slowly. "You see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Every time something happens, it becomes a headline. We're not people to you, Mona. We're your storylines." Mona's voice trembled slightly now, though she tried to hide it. "You think this doesn't affect me? You think I like being painted as the villain every season? I built this show from nothing. I sacrificed my peace, my name, to keep it alive." Rasheeda crossed her arms. "And you built it on our tears." Mona's lips pressed together, the fight draining from her face. "Maybe," she said finally, "but you cashed the checks." That line hung in the air like a slap. Rasheeda's expression hardened. "You're right," she said quietly, "and that's my mistake. I let you turn my life into content." Mona turned toward the door, but before leaving, she said one last thing. "You walk out now, and you'll lose everything. The brand, the fans, the deals. You won't recover from that." Rasheeda met her gaze in the mirror. "Then maybe it's time to start over." Mona didn't respond. She walked out, her face unreadable. The moment the door closed, Rasheeda sank into the chair, covering her face with her hands. Kirk knelt beside her. "Babe, you sure you want to do this?" Walking away from the show, she looked up at him, her eyes fierce again. "It's not walking away. It's taking back my life." Kirk nodded, though uncertainty lingered in his eyes. Outside the dressing room, Mona was already on her phone, her voice low but sharp. "Get legal on the line. If she wants to quit, we're protecting our footage." The assistant on the other end sounded nervous. "What about the press?" Mona paused, thinking, "Let them talk. I'll control the story." By afternoon, the fight had turned into a full-blown media storm. Gossip blogs, fan pages, even former cast members started posting their opinions. Some sided with Mona, calling her a businesswoman doing her job. Others defended Rasheeda, praising her for finally standing up. Hashtags like #TeamRasheeda and #MonaDrama started trending. The studio parking lot filled with paparazzi, hoping to catch a glimpse of either woman. Jasmine, seeing the chaos unfold, posted a cryptic message on her Instagram story. "Some people can't handle the truth." Within minutes, fans flooded her comments, accusing her of stirring the pot. She didn't respond, only reposted a clip of herself smiling during the fight. That night, Rasheeda sat at home, scrolling through the endless wave of online opinions. Kirk sat beside her, quiet. "You started something big," he said softly. "Maybe too big." Rasheeda didn't answer. Her mind replayed Mona's words again and again. "You walk out now, and you'll lose everything." But deep down, she wasn't afraid of losing fame. She was afraid of what would come next. Across town, Mona sat alone in her office, staring at the footage from the day before. She watched herself and Rasheeda shouting, frame by frame, her expression unreadable. Then she whispered under her breath, "This might just save the season." The phone rang again. It was one of the executives from the network. "We need to talk about yesterday," the voice said. Mona straightened her back. "I'm already on it," she replied. "We're turning it into a two-part special." There was a pause. "Are you sure?" the executive asked. "The situation's volatile." Mona smiled faintly. "That's exactly why it'll work." She hung up, her reflection in the dark office window staring back at her. Somewhere in that silence, she knew she hadn't lost control. Not yet. And by the time the next episode aired, everyone would be watching to see which woman truly came out on top. 2 days later, the production team regrouped under strict instructions from the network to resume filming. Security was doubled, cameras were set to record from every angle, and nobody was allowed to speak about what had happened off-set. Still, the tension clung to every corner of the room like smoke. Rasheeda arrived first this time, calm on the outside but clearly bracing herself. Kirk walked close behind, keeping a quiet distance from Jasmine, who was already sitting in the makeup chair pretending to scroll through her phone. Mona entered a few minutes later, her expression unreadable, her headset already on, voice crisp as she gave orders. No one dared greet her. When she finally looked up and locked eyes with Rasheeda, the entire room went still again. Without a word, Mona walked over, handed her a revised script outline, and said, "Scene 3. We finish what we started." Rasheeda glanced at the pages, then looked back at her. "This is what you wanted all along, wasn't it? Turn my breakdown into your storyline." Mona's reply came sharp and low. "The world's already talking. Now we control the narrative." Kirk muttered under his breath. "This is crazy." But both women ignored him. Jasmine leaned forward, her tone dripping with irony. "Guess we're all just playing our parts." Rasheeda shot her a glare. "Be careful, Jasmine. You don't know how close you're playing with fire." Jasmine smirked. "Oh, I know. I've been burned before." The cameras started rolling. The scene was supposed to be a reconciliation talk between Rasheeda and Jasmine about their past. Mona watched from behind the monitor, her fingers tapping impatiently. At first, Rasheeda stuck to the script. She spoke calmly, her voice steady. "We've both been through a lot," she began. Jasmine nodded, her eyes darting toward Kirk. "And some of it's still hard to forget." Rasheeda inhaled slowly, forcing composure. "But I'm done living in the past. I've got a husband, kids, a business. I'm not here to fight anymore." Mona signaled the cameraman to zoom in. Jasmine leaned forward, her tone changing. "That's funny. You talk about peace but you threw the first word the other day. Remember?" The crew tensed. Rasheeda froze. Mona leaned closer to the monitor. "Cut," she called out, but neither woman stopped. Rasheeda's voice rose, trembling with restrained anger. "You're really gonna sit here and pretend like you didn't provoke me? Like you weren't laughing while my marriage was falling apart?" Jasmine shrugged. "If it wasn't true, it wouldn't hurt." The words hit Rasheeda like a punch. Kirk stood up abruptly, glaring at Jasmine. "Watch your mouth," he warned. Jasmine smirked. "Oh, now you care." Where was all that energy when she stopped mid-sentence, realizing she'd gone too far? Rasheeda's face drained of color, then darkened again, rage flooding back to the surface. She stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. "Don't finish that sentence," she said, voice shaking. Jasmine smiled faintly. "Why not?" "Afraid of what people will hear." Before Mona could intervene, Rasheeda threw the script to the floor. "You think this is a game?" she shouted. "You think my pain is your entertainment?" Mona stepped forward from behind the monitor, voice firm. "Rasheeda, stop. We're filming." Rasheeda turned to her, eyes blazing. "You're filming my life falling apart? That's what you're doing?" Mona's jaw tightened. "That's what you signed up for." Kirk grabbed Rasheeda's arm gently. "Let's just walk out," he whispered. "We don't need this." But she pulled away, her voice trembling now, caught between tears and fury. "No, I'm not walking away this time." She faced Jasmine again. "You want to talk about truth? Let's talk about how you were still messaging my husband after claiming it was over." The entire set froze. Jasmine's confident posture faltered. "That's a lie," she said quickly. Kirk closed his eyes, rubbing his forehead. Rasheeda pulled her phone from her pocket, unlocking it with shaking hands. "Oh, it's a lie. Then explain this." She held the phone toward Jasmine, showing a string of messages. The words were blurry on camera, but the names were visible enough to confirm everything. Kirk whispered, "Rasheeda, please," but it was too late. Jasmine's face turned pale. Mona stepped closer, tension written across her face. "Cut the feed," she ordered quietly, but no one moved. The crew knew this was the moment, the real drama, the one they'd all remember. Jasmine stood, her tone defensive. "You don't know what those messages mean? It wasn't like that." Rasheeda let out a shaky laugh. "You always say that, every single time." Mona watched them both, conflicted. For the first time, she looked almost human, unsure whether to intervene or let it unfold. Kirk tried again. "We're not doing this on camera," he said, voice low but firm. Mona looked at him. "You don't get to make that call, Kirk." He turned sharply to her. "Then maybe you should, before this turns into something worse." Mona hesitated, torn between ratings and morality. Finally, she whispered to the cameraman, "Keep rolling." That was the moment Rasheeda lost what little patience she had left. "Of course," she said bitterly, glaring at Mona. "You'd rather film this than stop it." Mona's voice rose. "Because this is real, Rasheeda. People need to see this side. The truth isn't clean." Rasheeda's voice cracked as she shouted back, "No, it's cruel." Jasmine suddenly snapped, her voice loud enough to silence the room. "You're not the only one who got hurt, Rasheeda. You act like you're perfect, but you're not innocent either." Everyone stared, shocked. Rasheeda stepped closer, trembling. "What did you just say?" Jasmine hesitated, then blurted, "You told Kirk to keep seeing me so the show wouldn't lose ratings." The air vanished from the room. Even Mona looked stunned. Kirk turned to Rasheeda, disbelief all over his face. "What?" he whispered. Rasheeda shook her head furiously. "She's lying." Jasmine crossed her arms. "Am I? Tell him about the meeting we had 2 years ago, before the reunion. You said, just one more storyline, then it's done." Kirk's jaw dropped. Rasheeda backed away, tears filling her eyes. "You twisted my words," she said. Jasmine smirked. "Did I?" Mona stepped in, voice quiet but sharp. "Is that true, Rasheeda?" Rasheeda turned to her, hurt flashing through her eyes. "You really gonna stand there and question me after everything?" Mona didn't answer. The silence was unbearable. Kirk looked between them, his voice low. "Tell me it's not true." Rasheeda wiped her face, her voice breaking. "I just wanted to save our image, Kirk. That's all. I didn't want people to think we were falling apart again." He stared at her for a long moment, his disappointment deeper than anger. "You didn't have to sell our pain to save it." She reached for him, but he stepped back. Mona turned toward the crew, whispering, "Keep rolling. This is real." But as she said it, she looked at Rasheeda's tear-streaked face, and, for the first time, she looked almost guilty. Jasmine sat down again, her earlier confidence replaced by quiet shock. She hadn't meant for it to go this far. Nobody spoke for nearly a minute. The cameras caught every breath, every twitch, every ounce of emotion left in the room. Mona finally said softly, "We can cut here." But the damage was already done. Kirk walked out without a word. Rasheeda collapsed into her chair, trembling, whispering, "This is what she wanted." Mona stood frozen, watching her mind already calculating what this fallout would mean. She whispered something almost too soft to hear. "No, this isn't what I wanted." Yet, deep down, even she wasn't sure if that was true anymore. The tension inside the Love and Hip Hop set did not dissolve after security stepped in. If anything, it became heavier, like static before a storm. Rasheeda sat alone in her dressing room, her chest still rising sharply with anger. She had always handled herself with poise, but tonight the line between reality and production had vanished. Kirk's betrayal, Mona's manipulation, and Jasmine's smug defiance had collided into something raw and public. Every sound outside the door made her shoulders tense. The producers whispered, the assistants moved nervously, and the sound of Mona's heels finally echoed through the hallway. When she entered, the room seemed to shrink. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. Her silence was deliberate, rehearsed, and sharp enough to cut through the air. Rasheeda turned to face her, eyes still glassy but unflinching. "You wanted a scene? You got one," she said, voice steady despite the tremor hiding beneath it. Mona closed the door behind her and leaned against it. "You think I wanted that? You think I wanted Kirk, Jasmine, and half the cast screaming on camera like animals?" Rasheeda let out a short, bitter laugh. "That's exactly what you wanted. Chaos sells, right? You've been feeding off this for years." Mona crossed her arms, watching her like a teacher waiting for a student to finish a tantrum. "You signed the contract, Rasheeda. You knew what this show was built on, truth and reaction. You gave me both." For a moment, neither woman spoke. The room was filled with the hum of the air conditioner and the faint muffled noise of production outside. Rasheeda's gaze softened slightly. "You used to say this show was about empowerment," she said, "about giving women a voice. But now it's just about humiliation." Mona exhaled, pushing off the wall and walking closer. "Empowerment doesn't come without exposure. You think your audience wants fairy tales. They want honesty, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts." Rasheeda shook her head. "There's a difference between honesty and exploitation." Mona paused, then crouched slightly so she was level with her. "You're right, but you can't control how the truth looks once it's out there. You can only decide if you'll let it destroy you or define you." Outside, Kirk stood in the hallway, overhearing fragments of their conversation. His jaw was tight, his hands buried deep in his pockets. The guilt on his face was unmistakable. He'd caused pain, yes, but he'd also revealed what he believed needed to come out. Jasmine had pushed too far, and Mona had lit the match. Now everyone was burned. As he turned to leave, Mona's assistant stopped him. "She wants you next," the assistant said quietly. Kirk hesitated before nodding. Inside, Mona straightened up and smoothed her jacket. "You and I are done for tonight," she said to Rasheeda. "But I need you back tomorrow. We're not finished." Rasheeda looked at her reflection in the mirror, her makeup smudged, her eyes tired but strong. "You'll get your footage," she said. "But after that, I'm done." When Kirk entered the room moments later, Rasheeda's expression hardened again. "You had no right," she said before he could speak. "You aired out everything like it was a storyline." Kirk sat down, rubbing his temples. "I was tired of pretending. I thought you deserved the truth." Rasheeda's voice broke slightly. "The truth, or your version of it?" He looked up at her. "Both. Maybe they're the same now." Mona, still standing by the door, interjected. "You two have built a legacy on your marriage. People watched you grow, fight, rebuild. Tonight, they saw the cracks again, but they also saw you. Fight, rebuild. Tonight, they saw the cracks again, but they also saw you." Kirk approached cautiously, sitting beside her. "We can still fix this," he said softly. She didn't look at him. "You can't fix what's already broadcasted," she replied. Jasmine, in another room, watched the same clips with satisfaction. "That's what happens when they try to play me," she said to a friend on the phone. But her smile faltered when she saw the comments calling her manipulative, attention-hungry, and cruel. She realized then that in Mona's world, no one left spotless. By the next morning, Mona called an emergency meeting. The producers gathered around a long table, faces tired but alert. "We're editing the fight into 2 episodes," she said. "We'll control the narrative. Rasheeda gets redemption. Kirk gets reflection. Jasmine gets exposure. Everyone wins." But her assistant hesitated. "Do you really think Rasheeda will come back?" Mona didn't answer right away. "She will," she said finally, "because she knows walking away now means letting the wrong version of her story live forever." And she was right. The next day, Rasheeda returned. Her outfit was sharp, her posture calm, her words measured. She looked into the camera during her confessional and said, "Sometimes the hardest thing isn't forgiving someone else, it's forgiving yourself for letting things go too far. But I'm still standing. That's what matters." The crew fell silent. Even Mona, watching from behind the monitor, felt a rare twinge of respect. When filming wrapped that evening, Mona approached Rasheeda once more. "You handled that like a queen," she said. Rasheeda nodded, adjusting her jacket. "No, Mona, I handled it like a woman who's done being a pawn." Mona smiled faintly, extending her hand. "Maybe it's time you produced your own story." That night, as the city lights flickered across Atlanta's skyline, 3 women, Rasheeda, Mona, and Jasmine, each sat alone, reflecting on what the cameras couldn't capture. Power had shifted. Control had changed hands. And though the show would continue, something fundamental had ended. Not the drama, not the fame, but the illusion that any of it was ever fully real. Because in Mona's world, every truth had a price, and by the time it aired, nobody remembered who had paid it first. Weeks passed after the explosive fight, but its echoes still moved through Atlanta like a storm that refused to fade. The Love and Hip Hop crew returned to filming, but the energy had changed. The glitz, the laughter, even the rehearsed tension felt different, now sharper, heavier. Rasheeda no longer entered the set with the same warmth she once carried. Every scene, every conversation, was chosen carefully. She had learned that nothing stayed private once the cameras started rolling. Still, there was something powerful in her silence. It wasn't defeat, it was strategy. Producers noticed it immediately. She spoke less but carried more weight when she did. In confessionals, she no longer played the role of the wronged wife or the resilient survivor. She spoke with a controlled calm that made people lean in. "You can't stop people from twisting your story," she said once, "but you can make sure they never forget your truth." That clip alone went viral, not because of drama, but because of the quiet confidence behind it. Even Mona, who had seen every shade of chaos over the years, found herself watching Rasheeda differently. Behind the scenes, Mona was fighting her own battles. The network executives were thrilled with the ratings, but the backlash from the fight was louder than she expected. Viewers accused her of exploiting real pain. Petitions trended online, demanding the show be restructured or even canceled. Mona didn't flinch publicly, but she felt the pressure. It wasn't the first controversy of her career, yet this one cut deeper. The line between control and cruelty had blurred, and she knew that if the franchise was to survive, it had to evolve. She called Rasheeda one afternoon, asking to meet privately, no cameras, no assistants. They met at a quiet cafe in Midtown, both dressed in neutral colors, like 2 generals agreeing to a ceasefire. Mona spoke first. "You were right," she admitted. "I crossed a line. But this show, this world, it feeds on raw moments. The audience wants the truth, even when it hurts the people who give it. Rasheeda stirred her tea, her eyes thoughtful. Then maybe it's time to show them something real that doesn't destroy us in the process. The idea took root. By the next production meeting, Mona had a new plan. The next season would still carry the signature drama, but it would include stories of rebuilding women reclaiming their voices after betrayal. Families choosing healing over spectacle. She pitched it as the Reclaim season. Some producers rolled their eyes, but others saw potential. Ratings might dip at first, but authenticity had power too. Meanwhile, Jasmine found herself isolated. The fame she'd chased so hard came with a darker side. Club appearances dwindled, sponsorships paused, and her DMs were flooded with messages calling her everything from heartbreaker to homewrecker. For the first time, she felt the weight of the world she'd helped create. One night, she went live on Instagram, tears streaming as she said, "Y'all think it's easy being the villain, but this is real life for me. I made mistakes. I wanted love, not headlines." The clip spread fast. For the first time, people began to see her humanity beneath the scandal. Kirk watched the live stream too. He had stayed mostly silent since the fight, avoiding interviews and keeping his distance from drama. But seeing Jasmine's confession stirred something in him. Guilt, maybe, or recognition. He had used people as shields before, deflecting his own failings onto them. That night, he texted Rasheeda, "I need to make things right, for real this time." When they met, it wasn't in front of cameras. It was in the small studio they'd built years ago, the one where they first recorded together. Kirk looked older, tired but sincere. "I ruined a lot, not just between us, but for everyone who trusted me. I can't undo that, but I can stop pretending it didn't happen." Rasheeda nodded, her expression unreadable. "Then start by owning it publicly. Not for me, for yourself." He did. A week later, he released a video statement, not glossy, not staged, just him speaking directly to the camera. "I made choices that hurt people I care about. The show made me famous, but it also exposed parts of me I wasn't ready to face. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for accountability." The honesty struck a chord. For once, the comments were filled with empathy instead of hate. Mona watched the video and saw something shift. Maybe for the first time, the show she created was sparking real introspection, not just entertainment. She began reaching out to other cast members, encouraging them to share their truths in their own words. What started as damage control became something else, a quiet revolution inside the reality TV empire she built. By mid-season, the tone of Love and Hip Hop had changed. Fans noticed it. The editing was softer, more human. Confessionals focused less on insults and more on reflection. Rasheeda's scenes about balancing motherhood, business, and forgiveness became some of the most watched moments. Jasmine's redemption arc surprised everyone. Her collaboration with Rasheeda on a small beauty campaign went viral. Two women once divided, now standing side by side. It wasn't staged. It was a business deal born from mutual understanding. At the reunion taping, Mona sat backstage watching them both on screen. Rasheeda spoke calmly about boundaries and resilience. Jasmine admitted her past mistakes without defensiveness. The crowd applauded not because of the drama, but because of the growth. When Mona walked out at the end to thank the cast, she received a standing ovation. Not as a puppet master, but as someone who had allowed the chaos to evolve into meaning. After filming ended, Rasheeda walked over to her. "You did it," she said. Mona smiled faintly. "No, we did it. You gave this story a heartbeat again." They hugged, a rare, genuine moment between two women who had battled each other through years of scripted and unscripted wars. Later that night, alone in her office, Mona looked through old footage. Scenes of fights, tears, betrayal, her empire built from raw emotion. Then she opened the latest cut of the new season. The difference was striking. It still had tension, still had conflict, but now there was depth, growth, humanity. For the first time in years, she felt proud in a way that had nothing to do with ratings. As the city lights shimmered outside her window, Mona picked up her phone and drafted a message to the cast group chat. "Season 10 is our clean slate. No more puppets, just people." She hesitated before sending it, then smiled and hit send. The next morning, Rasheeda woke to the notification and smiled too. The past couldn't be erased, but it could be rewritten not by the cameras, but by the choices they made when they weren't rolling. And in that quiet understanding between Mona and Rasheeda, between producer and performer, the story of Love and Hip Hop entered a new chapter, not of scandal, but survival. Because in the end, even in a world built on drama, redemption was still the most powerful storyline of all. The night after the reunion, Atlanta felt still in a way it hadn't in months. The city that usually pulsed with gossip, cameras, and flashing lights finally took a breath. Rasheeda and Kirk drove home together in silence, neither needing to fill the space with words. The drive through Midtown was quiet, their reflections passing across the tinted windows. The reunion had ended with applause and forced smiles, but both of them knew that healing wasn't something that happened on stage. It happened later, in the stillness, when no one was looking. Kirk reached over and turned down the radio. "You think people actually bought it?" he asked softly. Rasheeda glanced at him. "The apology." He nodded. "I think they didn't have to buy it," she said. "They just needed to see you try." For years, every apology had come with cameras and contracts. This time, the words had weight. Kirk was trying in a way that made Rasheeda unsure whether to trust it or brace herself. But something in her heart, tired but not hardened, decided to let time speak before judgment. They parked outside their house, the same one that had seen both triumph and destruction. It looked different now, quieter, safer. When they stepped inside, their son was waiting, phone in hand, eyes bright. "Mom," he said, "they're talking about you everywhere. Like, everyone's saying you handled that reunion like a boss." She smiled, the kind that came from exhaustion more than pride. "I just told the truth," she said, and went upstairs before her emotions could betray her composure. Meanwhile, Mona stayed behind at the production lot long after the crew had left. She sat in the editing bay, the only light coming from the screens around her. Clips played silently: Rasheeda's composed expression, Jasmine's shaky voice, Kirk's apology. She replayed them, again and again, searching for the exact moment when the show stopped being spectacle and became something else. Maybe it was when Rasheeda didn't shout. Maybe when Jasmine cried for the first time without an audience cheering for it. Maybe it was when Mona herself stopped manipulating the pieces and simply watched the people. She whispered to herself, "This is what real looks like." Outside the studio gates, fans had already begun debating every detail online. Hashtags exploded overnight: hashtag Team RASHEEDA, hashtag Mona evolved, hashtag real over reality. Clips circulated across social media with millions of views. Interviews flooded in. Entertainment blogs speculated about whether Mona Scott-Young had finally changed her approach, or if this was just another clever narrative twist. Either way, it was working. The viewership broke every previous record, but this time, the comments weren't filled with mockery. They were filled with gratitude. "This season feels different," one user wrote. "Like they're finally showing their hearts." Jasmine, watching from her apartment, scrolled through the comments until tears blurred her screen. The hate was still there. Old ghosts rarely disappear overnight, but now there were voices defending her too. "She's human," someone wrote, "and she's owning her part." Jasmine smiled through her tears. It wasn't redemption yet, but it was the start of something close. She closed her phone and whispered to herself, "Maybe I can finally breathe again." Days later, Mona called a private meeting at the network office. The executives were buzzing with excitement. One of them, a man in a sharp gray suit, said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. This is gold." Mona nodded, but her voice was measured. "It's not gold," she said. "It's growth." They laughed lightly, assuming she was being poetic, but she meant it. For the first time, she wasn't just producing a show. She was protecting a legacy. As the weeks rolled on, filming for the next phase began lighter, more personal scenes that focused on rebuilding lives. One of those days, Rasheeda walked onto set early. No glam team, no entourage. She sat in the empty salon set they used for her confessionals and just looked around. The mirrors reflected pieces of her past: the ambition, the heartbreak, the endless performance. Mona entered quietly behind her. "You ever miss the old days?" she asked. Rasheeda didn't turn around. "Sometimes," she said, "but the old days almost broke me." Mona nodded. "Me too." They both smiled faintly. The new narrative slowly took shape. The show began to highlight women, supporting women, showing moments of strength instead of sabotage. Ratings dipped for a few episodes, but word of mouth brought them back. Fans were drawn to authenticity they hadn't realized they craved. Even critics who had once dismissed the series as chaos began writing about its evolution. One article titled, "When Reality TV Finds Its Soul," went viral overnight. Mona read it twice before forwarding it to Rasheeda with a simple message: "We did that, but peace in the world of entertainment never lasts long." As the show's image improved, old enemies resurfaced. Former cast members began reaching out, some angry that they hadn't been invited back for the redemption arc. One in particular, fiery ex-castmate named Tiara began leaking behind-the-scenes stories, claiming that the new direction was fake woke and just another manipulation. She went live one night, calling out Mona and Rasheeda by name. "Don't let them fool you," she said, eyes blazing. "This isn't growth, this is rebranding. They're just selling forgiveness now." The internet lit up instantly, comments divided. Some sided with Tiara, saying Mona was a master manipulator who knew exactly how to spin pain into profit. Others defended Rasheeda, calling her the show's moral compass. Within hours, #TiaraTruth trended. Mona saw the storm coming. She had a choice: ignore it or address it head-on. This time, she chose transparency. She recorded a short video, sitting at her desk without makeup, no production lights. "Yes," she said, "I produce television. I make choices that tell stories. But I also listen. People change, and stories can too. If that makes me a manipulator, then maybe manipulation can heal instead of hurt." The video stunned everyone. Even her critics admitted she had disarmed them. Rasheeda, on the other hand, refused to engage. When asked about Tiara's comments, she replied calmly, "I'm not in competition with the past. I'm building peace, not proving points." That line alone became a mantra online, quoted across posts and interviews. She had become the quiet center of the chaos, a role that felt almost revolutionary in a genre built on noise. Still, the emotional toll remained. Kirk struggled with the new public image. Being seen as reformed came with its own pressure. He found himself walking on eggshells, afraid of saying the wrong thing. One night, he confessed to Rasheeda, "I feel like everyone's watching me, waiting for me to mess up." She looked at him and said, "Then don't give them the show they expect. Give them the man they never saw coming." It wasn't a romantic moment. It was a challenge. And for once, he accepted it. Production wrapped months later, and as the final cut was delivered, Mona stood with her team watching the last scene fade to black. It was Rasheeda and Jasmine standing together at an event, smiling, not forced, not awkward, just peaceful. The screen went dark, and applause broke out in the room. Mona didn't smile immediately. She just exhaled, long and slow, the way someone does after surviving a long storm. The premiere aired the following week. Atlanta gathered in living rooms, clubs, and lounges to watch what everyone was calling the comeback season. Social media exploded again, but this time, it wasn't chaos. It was love. Viewers praised the vulnerability, the tone, the emotional weight. "This isn't just reality TV." One fan tweeted, "This is art now." Mona didn't respond publicly, but privately she cried that night. She hadn't realized how much she needed to believe that her work could mean something again. The next morning, Rasheeda received a text from an unknown number. It simply said, "Thank you for showing the world what real strength looks like." She never found out who sent it, but she didn't need to. It was enough to know that her story, the real one, buried beneath years of edits and angles, had finally reached someone. And somewhere in the same city, Mona looked out her office window as the sun rose. The phone beside her buzzed with ratings updates and interview requests, but she ignored them for a moment. The fight that had nearly destroyed everything had instead rebirthed it. The chaos had burned away the pretense, leaving only truth behind. She whispered to herself, "Sometimes you have to break the story to save it." And as the light filled the room, it felt like the first honest sunrise in years. The sun rose over Atlanta, painting the skyline gold. And for the first time in a long while, the city felt like it was waking up to something new. The chaos had quieted, replaced by a kind of uneasy calm. Everyone who had been part of the storm, Mona, Rasheeda, Kirk, Jasmine, was now living in the space that comes after noise, when the world watches less and the truth starts to settle. But peace in their world never stayed pure for long. In reality television, silence only ever meant the next storm was gathering strength. Rasheeda sat in her boutique that morning, scrolling through her messages. Dozens of journalists had reached out asking for interviews. Producers from other networks wanted to collaborate. She had become more than a cast member. No, she was a symbol. But fame, even the good kind, came with shadows. She set her phone down and looked around her store, remembering when she opened it years ago, nervous and unsure if anyone would even come. Now there were lines outside most weekends, women who said they felt seen because of her story. Yet behind her calm smile was fatigue. She had given so much of herself to the public that she barely recognized what was left. Her assistant entered, holding a tablet. "You might want to see this," she said softly. On the screen was a leaked clip from an unaired scene, a private moment between Mona and one of the producers. In it, Mona was heard saying, "We needed that fight to wake people up." The internet caught fire instantly. Fans felt betrayed. Accusations flew that the entire redemption arc was another layer of manipulation. Hashtags returned, hashtag scripted truth, hashtag Mona exposed, hashtag fake healing. For Rasheeda, the sight of that clip was a gut punch. After everything, after the tears, apologies, and rebuilding, it was happening again. By the time she called Mona, the video had already hit every gossip blog in the country. "Tell me it's not true," Rasheeda said quietly. Mona exhaled on the other end, her voice steady but tired. "It's out of context," she said. "You know how editing works." Rasheeda closed her eyes. "Mona, they're dragging us through the mud again. I stood by you because I believed in what we were building. Now it looks like you planned it all." Mona didn't answer immediately. "I didn't plan that fight," she said finally, "but I knew it would change everything. I just didn't expect it to change me too." The line went silent after that. The kind of silence that means something's breaking. The next few days blurred together. Paparazzi followed Mona everywhere. Interview requests turned into interrogations. Journalists asked if she had faked her own evolution for publicity. The same tabloids that once called her a visionary now called her a manipulator again. In her office, Mona stared at the headlines, wondering how many times she would have to rebuild her own reputation before people saw her as human. She whispered, "You build empires from fire, and then they burn you with the same flames." Meanwhile, Jasmine was caught in the middle again. She had defended Mona publicly, saying, "I don't believe everything on the internet," but fans attacked her for it. She started losing brand deals, one by one. The emotional progress she had made began to crumble. Kirk saw it all happening and decided to step in. He arranged a meeting with both women, hoping to calm the situation before it destroyed what little peace was left. They met at a quiet restaurant on the edge of town, far from the cameras. Mona arrived first, sunglasses on, her face tense but unreadable. Rasheeda came next, every step measured. Jasmine followed, hesitant but hopeful. Kirk sat between them, trying to bridge the distance. "We can't let this fall apart again," he said. "Not after everything we survived." Rasheeda folded her arms. "Then tell that to the person who keeps pulling the strings." Mona looked up, eyes sharp. "I'm not pulling anything. I'm protecting what we built." The conversation turned sharp fast. Rasheeda accused Mona of using emotions as ratings fuel. Mona fired back that without her, there would be no platform for those emotions in the first place. Kirk tried to intervene, but the tension was too thick. Jasmine, watching them both, finally spoke. "You both want to win, but you're fighting in the same war. Don't you see that?" They looked at her, surprised by her sudden authority. "We can't keep reliving the same scene. We all want to be seen as real, but none of us are acting like it." Her voice trembled but carried strength. The words hung in the air. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Mona sighed, the fight draining out of her. "You're right," she said. "Maybe I don't know where reality ends anymore." Rasheeda's shoulders softened. "Then maybe it's time we stop filming and start living." They sat there in silence, three women who had fought, cried, and survived each other. Kirk leaned back, relief washing over him. It wasn't resolution. Not yet, but it was a truce. A few days later, Mona made a decision that shocked everyone. She called the network and requested a hiatus for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. After over a decade, the show would pause production. She told the team, "I need to remember who I am without the cameras." Executives protested, warning her about lost revenue, but Mona didn't care. She wanted space to breathe, to think, to rebuild again, not for ratings but for peace. The news broke, and fans reacted in waves. Some were angry, others understanding. Rasheeda posted a short message on her Instagram. "Every story needs silence before it can start again." It went viral. People quoted it everywhere, turning it into something poetic. Jasmine stayed quiet online, focusing instead on rebuilding her personal life. Kirk began helping Rasheeda expand her businesses, not for cameras but for real. The chaos that once defined them was replaced by a strange, healing quiet. Months passed. Atlanta moved on. The gossip faded. Mona spent her time mentoring young creators, helping them build shows without losing themselves in the process. She told one group of students, "The most dangerous addiction in this business isn't fame, it's the most dangerous addiction in this business isn't fame, it's control." She smiled, a little sadly. "I learned that the hard way." One evening, Mona received a letter. No return address, no signature. Inside was a simple note. "You turned pain into power. Don't forget the power was always yours." She read it 3 times before tucking it into her journal. Rasheeda, meanwhile, had started recording music again. Not for charts, not for attention, but for expression. Her new song, "Mirror Me," told the story of a woman who spent years performing for others until she finally recognized her own reflection. When it dropped online, fans immediately connected the lyrics to her life. It became her most streamed song in years. In interviews, she said little about its meaning, only that it was the most honest thing I've ever written. The hiatus stretched longer than anyone expected. A year later, when the network began pressuring Mona to return, she hesitated. She met with Rasheeda privately once more, this time without tension. They sat in a garden cafe, sunlight filtering through the leaves. "They want another season," Mona said, "a comeback." Rasheeda stirred her drink. "And what do you want?" Mona looked at her for a long moment. "I want truth, but I'm afraid the world doesn't watch for that." Rasheeda smiled faintly. "Then make them watch." And so, they did. The return of love and hip-hop. Atlanta wasn't announced with fireworks or controversy. It came quietly, with a short trailer of faces both old and new. No shouting, no fights, just stories raw, imperfect, human. The premiere was different from anything the franchise had ever done. It opened not with chaos, but with reflection. Clips of the cast, talking about growth, forgiveness, and what reality really means. Mona narrated softly in the background, saying, "For years we gave the world drama, now we're giving it truth. Maybe they're the same thing, or maybe we're finally learning the difference." Viewers were stunned. The tone was almost cinematic, emotional, unguarded. Even the harshest critics admitted it was something new. Fans filled comment sections with messages of surprise and pride. "This isn't just a comeback," one wrote. "It's a rebirth." The ratings soared again, but this time, it wasn't because of chaos, it was because people saw themselves in the vulnerability on screen. Behind the scenes, Rasheeda and Mona worked side by side, no longer adversaries but partners. Jasmine had been invited back too, this time not as a scandal but as a story of growth. Kirk remained quiet, focused on his family and his music. The energy on set was different, still charged, still real, but rooted in something deeper than spectacle. On the final day of shooting, as the cameras powered down, Mona looked around the room and smiled. "We started this with a fight," she said softly, "and we're ending it with peace." The crew applauded, and Rasheeda hugged her tightly. There were no speeches, no staged goodbyes, just a quiet sense that something had finally come full circle. When the last lights went out, and the set emptied, Mona walked outside alone. The sky was painted with the colors of dusk, soft and forgiving. She thought of every headline, every betrayal, every tear that had built this world, and realized that for all its madness, she wouldn't trade it. Because within the chaos, she had found truth. Within the performance, she had found humanity. And within the fight, she had found herself. She whispered into the cooling night, "Let them say what they want. The story was always ours." And somewhere across Atlanta, as the city lights blinked awake, Rasheeda played her new song softly in her car, the words filling the quiet streets. "I've been every version of me they could see, but now I'm just me." She smiled, not for cameras, not for fans, but for herself. The war was finally over, and in its place stood something far rarer than fame, peace that didn't need to be filmed to be real. And as the dust finally settles on that chaotic set, fans are still trying to make sense of what really went down between Mona Scott and Rasheeda Frost. Whispers say the cameras captured every second, but VH1 executives are debating whether the footage is too explosive to ever see the light of day. Insiders claim Kirk hasn't spoken to Rasheeda since the argument, while Jasmine has suddenly gone quiet on social media, deleting every post connected to the show. Some believe this was more than a production fight, it was a personal betrayal years in the making. Others say it's all part of Mona's plan to push ratings through the roof. Whatever the truth is, one thing's clear: this fight has changed everything. The energy on set will never be the same, and the bond between Mona and Rasheeda might be permanently broken. The internet is spinning. Hashtags are everywhere. Hashtag Manov's Rasheeda has trended for days, and fans are demanding answers. Did Mona really cross the line? Did Rasheeda finally reach her breaking point? What role did Kirk and Jasmine actually play in setting off this ticking bomb? Everyone has their theory, but no one can deny how deep this moment cut. People who worked closely with both women say the tension had been brewing for months, with small disagreements slowly turning into full-blown resentment. Mona's desire for drama clashed with Rasheeda's wish for respect. And when pride met frustration, it all erupted before the cameras. As for the aftermath, Production insiders say there's talk of a temporary shutdown. Security was increased around the set. Mona has reportedly refused to apologize, claiming she wasn't about to be disrespected on her own show. Rasheeda, on the other hand, has hinted she's done for good, though fans suspect that might not last long. After all, no one walks away from a legacy this big without one last word. But here's where you come in. What do you think really happened that day? Do you believe Mona went too far? Or was Rasheeda justified in standing her ground? Do you think Kirk and Jasmine played innocent, or did they silently fuel the fire for attention? Let us know your thoughts down below, because this story isn't over yet. If you think this fight will change love and hip-hop forever, hit that like button right now. If you believe Rasheeda deserves justice, make sure you comment Team Rasheeda in the chat. And if you're on Mona's side, drop Team Mona below and tell us why you think she was right to defend her work. Subscribe to stay locked in for every twist, every fallout, and every shocking reveal. Because this storm is only just beginning, trust us, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The alliances, the betrayals, and the aftermath that could tear this cast apart. Turn on notifications so you're the first to see when we drop the next chapter in this wild, unfolding saga. Until then, stay tuned, stay watching, and remember, nothing in the world of reality TV is ever really over.